Hello, today's vlog is a book vlog. I love reading and I love hearing what other people are reading, so I thought I would share some of the ones that I've read this year that I've really enjoyed. I set a goal of 50 books this year and I've read 55, so that's good. And I think I can manage to finish another 2 before the end of the year. Might be more than that, but I don't want to stress myself out with that either. So yeah, I thought I would share the books that I've enjoyed. Some of them are parts of series and some of them are standalone books. So yeah, I'll just dive in, and if you have any questions you can let me know, or if you've read them I'd love to know as well, if you've enjoyed them or not. We all have our own tastes, so I know that it just depends on what we like and what we don't like, but yeah, I think these are pretty good books, so it'd be nice to know if you've enjoyed them too. Right, the first book is from a series, and it is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. So I've read it, and I've read the one that follows it, which I think is Tales from the Cafe, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of those books that kind of sticks with you. So it's about a cafe where you can time travel, but there are rules in place, so you can only go to meet somebody that has been to the cafe. You can't change anything about what happened like in the past or what is going to happen in the future. Like, your visit makes no difference to the outcome, and you can only stay for as long as your cup of coffee is still warm. So if you're somebody that likes your coffee really hot, you haven't got a lot of time. If you're somebody that can drink it till it's almost freezing cold, then you maybe have a bit longer. But yes, it's so good. The 2 books I've read are divided into 4 stories, like 4 different people that time travel, and the people involved in running the cafe. And it's just one of those books that makes you, it kind of gets to you, if that makes sense. Like it takes situations from life and makes you think about them, and the kind of resolutions you would want, or the chance of what you would say to somebody if you could time travel, and have a last moment with somebody. They're really good books. If you are struggling at the moment, it might be the kind of thing that helps you. It might be the kind of thing that makes you want to burst into tears. I definitely had a little cry at a couple of the bits. But yeah, they're great books. I really enjoyed them both, and I'm looking forward to reading the next, I think there's 3 more in the series so far. I'm really looking forward to reading them. So that's my first recommendation. The next one is Divine Rivals, which is again part of a series. There's 2 books, and I've read them both. I enjoyed the second one, but I really loved the first one. It's like a fantasy romance. So it's about 2 people, Kit and Winnow, and they are rival journalists at a newspaper, and they have magical typewriters, and there's a whole thing story which I can't share any more of without spoiling. But yeah, as they deal with reporting on a war that's happening, there's just like the whole romance comes out. So that's, I really enjoyed it. Despite being a fantasy, it was a very easy situation to see yourself in, if that makes sense. Like, there wasn't a lot about it that was I don't know how to describe it. There wasn't a lot that was unusual or fantastical, I suppose you could say. Like, a lot of it was very real feeling, which I really enjoyed. I would definitely recommend that book. The next one is a standalone book called An Unwanted Inheritance, and it's totally different. I really enjoyed it. So it's based on someone in a family dying, and then a couple of members of the family going to help, like they're actually looking for a cat, I think it is, if I remember rightly. And in the process find like a large sum of money stashed away in the house, and then it's dealing with the aftermath of that and what everybody in the family thinks should happen to this money. So some people want to spend it, some people want to hide it away for tax purposes, some people want to declare it to the authorities. Yeah, so it was really interesting. It definitely makes you question what you would do in the situation, because everybody likes to think that they would make a good decision, but what that decision would be very much varies from person to person, I think. So I really enjoyed it. It was totally different, and yeah, it definitely made me think, so that was good. The next one, I have read 2 so far of the James Herriot books. So I love All Creatures Great and Small. I really enjoyed the series, the first series in the 80s. I love the books, and I absolutely love the new series that's on TV. Oh my goodness, I could watch it over and over because I really love it. And even though the characters are maybe slightly, like Mrs. Hall is a much more involved character than she is in the books and things like that, I think the TV programme is a really good adaptation of them. So I loved reading the books as well. So some of the stories I could see from the programmes and some are separate, but it's so easy to read, to pick up and just read a little section. I loved it because it's just like a collection of stories and experiences, and oh my goodness, it was so good and quite comical at times as well. So yeah, I really loved them, and I've got a third one to read, and yeah, I'll be looking for the rest of them. Yeah, they're just so good. But then that's my cup of tea and the kind of era that I like it reading about anyway. So yeah. The next one is Hex Appeal. So it feels like ages since I read this, but I did really enjoy it. It's a romance but with magic involved. So it's about a girl called Essie who lives in a house called Beldam, which is hilarious because every time I read it as Bedlam, which I think is the whole point of the name, because it feels very kind of chaotic in some ways in the house. But every person has like their own bedroom, which reflects their personality, and when they're wound up about things, the house is stormy and things blow about, and it's a really good book. So yeah, a romance, her meeting somebody and all that involves. So I definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. If you like romance books and you like magic, definitely one to read. The next one is Number 23 Burlington Square. So again, this is quite a different book. So it starts off with the owner of the house has oh my goodness, the word's gone out my head. Lodgers, that's the word. Oh my god, that's ridiculous. She has lodgers, and one of them dies, and she has a room to spare, obviously, and she has 3 different people apply to have the room. And so the rest of the book is split over what would happen if she chose each person, which was really good. Definitely interesting, because as you read the different stories, you find out different things about the people, and yeah, there's one that you would clearly want to be the case, and the other 2, yeah, can't say any more without giving away, but yeah, it was a really good book because it's totally different from what I've read before, and I really enjoyed it. I love things like that. It's like time travel, and I like stories where you can see different alternative outcomes, and just I think it's really good reading those kind of stories, so I enjoyed that one. The next one is Murder in the Bookshop, which is a World War I mystery. I really enjoyed it. If you like murder mysteries set in the past, it was a good one. There's a whole series apparently with the characters, but I've only read that one. I would like to read more though. It was nice and easy to read as well, which was good. The next one I've read a few of these this year, and I'm going to finish the series next year, is the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness by Michelle Paver. I've talked about her books before. I love them. They are supposed to be kind of children's and young adult books, but I love them. They're set thousands of years ago, when people were living in clans, and there's elements of magic in it. They're really good books. I love them so much that I've read them several times, and I still really enjoy them every time I pick them up. So yes, I would recommend those if you like stories like that. You would know very quickly by reading the back whether it would be your cup of tea or not. So definitely worth looking for if you like stories that have a bit of magic in them, or stories set a long time ago. My next book is Lessons in Chemistry. I really enjoyed this one. I listened to this. There's a couple of them actually that I've listened to, but this one was really good as a book to listen to. So it's, I can't remember her name, I didn't write it down. But the main character, basically her whole life working in a scientific job, and in the 1950s I think it is, and how she's treated basically by all the males that work in her university, and then she gets sacked at one point and starts a cookery program on TV using chemistry in her methods. And yeah, basically, like, it's a very empowering kind of book. It makes you really proud to be a woman. I really enjoyed it. Feeling that somebody had beaten the system and won. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So if you like things like that, I would recommend it. My next book is Mort by Terry Pratchett. So my husband is a huge Terry Pratchett fan. And I had never read any of the books or watched like any of the adaptations on TV or anything like that. So I knew how much he loved it, and I really wanted to love the book, and I was a bit nervous, I must be honest. I asked him which one he would recommend, and he said Mort was a really good one to start with. So I read it, and I did really enjoy it. Very funny, and I love the way Terry Pratchett like described things, just really perceptive way of describing things that you instantly know what he means, but it's not the way you would have necessarily thought of it yourself. And I love it. I really enjoyed the description and the way of dealing with death and all those kind of things. It was really a really good book. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the ones in the series. As I mentioned earlier in Vlogmas, I have started Hogfather, but I've hardly touched it, I must be honest, because I'm trying to finish some of the other books that I've got on the go first. I think I just need peace and quiet and time to, because I would say that about his books, they're so, like, they need your concentration to get really immersed in it. So yeah, at the moment Hogfather just is, I haven't got the time or the quiet to enjoy them. So I'm looking forward to reading that after Christmas, I think. Especially when I can work out what I'm going to do with my Advent too. The next book I wanted to mention was one called The Embroidered Book. Now this is a really long book. I listened to this one and I think it was nearly 20 hours. But it was really good. So it's set, it's about Marie Antoinette and her sister Charlotte, and their life, it obviously is fiction. It's not, unless there's something that we don't know about, it's not real, but it's about an embroidered book which gives them like the ability to do magic. Basically they can create spells, and yeah, they grow up with this, and it's kind of the whole story set on how they use the spells and magic to create their lives, and how Charlotte uses hers to empower her kingdom, because she's kind of, even though she's queen, she's the one that's in charge, and how Marie Antoinette uses it to make people fall in love with her and talk about her and everything, but then how that becomes her downfall, and oh my goodness, it's so powerful, it's amazing. Really loved it, because I must be honest, I started reading it, listening to it, and then I thought, I don't know, and I kind of went away and came back to it, and when I got into it I was just like, it was so good, really. Just because you know what's coming, you know what's going to happen to her, and it's heartbreaking in a sense, and yet you kind of can just, like, the story just fits it perfectly, how she came to get to the stage of the revolution and being, like, her demise and everything, and how her sister had to see that coming and couldn't do anything to protect her, and oh my goodness, it's just it's so good, such a good book. Yeah, it was one of those that will always, anytime I think of France or Marie Antoinette or anything, that will be in my head. Yeah. The next book is The Love of My Afterlife. So I took this with us when we went to York in the summer, and I just needed something light and, like, easy to read, and oh my goodness, it was so good. It was really funny, I really enjoyed it. It's basically a girl dies, she chokes on something, so she lives on her own, she basically doesn't have much of a life. She chokes on a burger, a cheap microwavable burger, and wakes up in the afterlife. And when they go to review her life, the person that's there with her is so horrified at, like, how little of happiness she had in her life, or how much, like, she just didn't do anything basically because she just existed. And so she sends her back to Earth for, I can't remember if it's a week or 10 days or something like that, it's a very short time anyway, to try and cram as much life into that time as possible. And basically she falls in love, and yeah, it just, like, the whole thing is amazing. I really enjoyed it. Totally unusual kind of idea. I loved it. It was so funny, and it just really was what I needed at that point in time when we went away. It was a really good book. So that one's probably one of my absolute top books of this year, because I just enjoyed it so much. Making you, like, enjoy the moments in life that it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be living. So yeah, that one's a top favourite. The next one is The Day Shelley Woodhouse Woke Up. So this one was really good too. Basically, this woman wakes up from a coma and reports her husband for abuse, because the last thing she remembers is him pushing her down the stairs. But it turns out that actually there's been, like, a period of time between that happening and her waking up, and that this is actually, like, that's not the case. It's a long while after, and she has to piece together everything that's happened in between. And oh, it's really good. It features quite a lot about like, domestic abuse and violence, so it's not one to read if that is something that triggers you. But it was very good. I really enjoyed it. So it's like each chapter is a chapter in the present and a chapter in the past. Present, past, the whole way through the book. So you piece together as you're going what's happened, and it was really good. Not always easy to read some of the things. I mean, it doesn't go into, like, great detail, but it still talks about violence and abuse, and that's hard to read. But yeah, it was really good. Very good book. I loved it. Then I listened to Legends and Latte by the author. He was the narrator, and it wasn't what I expected, but I really loved it because it was a lot gentler and it wasn't dramatic. It was just lovely, if that makes sense. It's really hard to describe, because other people, I remember Helen saying, from Goody Yarn, saying that it was like a warm hug, and it is like that because it's really comfortable and just kind of makes you feel, I don't know, supported in a way. I don't know how to explain it. It's a strange one because there's no drama there, like, as such. I mean, there is a little bit, but there's nothing like major. There's nothing like, no grand gestures. There's no, I don't know. It just felt nice, if that makes sense. It was like comfortable and cozy, and the descriptions of coffee and all the baking and all those kind of things, very nice. Yeah, it was just a really lovely one to read, for a change. Just something that was completely different, but I loved it. And it is like a fantasy kind of thing, but that kind of almost drifts away and you just don't think about it. It just feels like you're part of like a warm cafe and family and people. Yeah, it's just nice. I really liked it. And the last ones I thought I would talk about are 2 Agatha Christie's that I've read. So 450 from Paddington and A Pocket Full of Rye. So because I'm doing my yarn club with Agatha Christie books, I have been reading some throughout the year, and these were 2 of the ones for it, and I really enjoyed them both. I have read Pocket Full of Rye, and I remember seeing it on the TV as well when I was a kid, one of the Joan Hicks and Miss Marples, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really good one, using the nursery rhyme to figure, or to like create the clues, I suppose. And the 450 from Paddington was the other one, and I have no recollection of having watched it or read it, and yet I must have, because I'm pretty sure I've read or watched all of them at some point growing up. But I had no recollection of it at all, but it was really good as well. I enjoyed it. Yeah, didn't expect who it was, so that was a good good mystery if I didn't expect who the killer was. Yeah, so, but I mean, I pretty much love all Agatha Christie, so there are some that maybe aren't quite as much my cup of tea as others, but yeah, they're all really good. So that's the ones that stood out this year. And I would love to know what you have read that you've really enjoyed this year. If there's anything in particular that you want to share, please let me know, and I'll add it to my list for next year, or enthuse about it if I've read it too. Yeah, I think that's everything for now, and if I read any more over the next few days, I will let you know. But in the meantime, I will say goodnight, and I'll see you tomorrow.